You know what's exhausting? Trying to control how someone else feels about you. You keep explaining yourself. You keep wondering what they meant. You keep checking whether they're upset. You keep hoping they'll finally understand your heart. And somewhere in all of that, you lose your peace. My dear sister, there comes a moment when you have to say, let them. Let them think what they want. Let them make their choices, and let God take care of the rest. Because you cannot control another person's opinion of you. You can be kind. You can be honest. You can apologize when you're wrong. You can do your best to treat people well. But after you've done your part, you have to know when to step back. Not everybody is going to understand you. Some people will hear your explanation and still choose to believe something different. Some will walk away, even though you wanted them to stay. Some will talk about you without ever asking you what really happened. And some people simply won't recognize your heart. It hurts, especially when you know you genuinely tried. But my sister, you cannot spend your life trying to convince someone to see your value. That's not where your peace comes from. Your worth was never supposed to be decided by somebody else's opinion. And this is where learning to say, let them, can change everything. Let them misunderstand you. You don't have to write a 10-page explanation. Let them talk. You don't have to respond to every word. Let them walk away. You don't have to chase after them. And if someone chooses not to appreciate you, let that be their choice. You don't have to spend the rest of your life trying to prove what they refuse to see. Romans 12:19 says, Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. There is something comforting about knowing that you don't have to handle everything yourself. God sees. He knows what happened. He knows what was said when you weren't there. He knows the tears you cried when nobody knew you were hurting. So why are you still carrying something you've already prayed about? Give it to Him, and then leave it there. I know that's easier said than done, because sometimes we want closure. We want an apology. We want someone to admit that they were wrong. We want them to understand how deeply they hurt us. But what happens when they never do? Are you going to spend another year waiting? Another year checking their social media? Another year wondering whether they regret losing you? Another year allowing someone who isn't even present in your life to control your emotions? My sister, you deserve better than that. Sometimes closure isn't an apology. Sometimes closure is the moment you decide, I may never understand why this happened, but I'm not going to let it stop me from living. That's when something changes inside of you. You stop looking backward. You start paying attention to what's in front of you. You start noticing that God has still been good to you. You start enjoying your mornings again. You start praying without spending the entire prayer talking about the same person. You start making plans. You start dreaming again. And slowly you realize, wait, I don't have to carry this anymore. Now let me be clear. Let them doesn't mean you tolerate mistreatment. It doesn't mean you ignore red flags. It doesn't mean you stay in unhealthy relationships. And it doesn't mean you never speak up. Sometimes you need to have the conversation. Sometimes you need to establish a boundary. Sometimes you need to walk away. But once you've done what God has asked you to do, don't keep trying to control the outcome. That's where we get tired. We want to make people understand. We want to make them change. We want them to respond the way we would have responded. But people have free will. They will make their own decisions. And that's something you have to release. Their choices belong to them. Your life belongs to you. So stop putting your life on pause because somebody else hasn't changed. Stop waiting for somebody to apologize before you allow yourself to heal. Stop waiting for someone to recognize your worth before you believe it yourself. And stop looking for validation from people who have already shown you that they can't give it. God knows who you are. That's enough. Maybe someone walked away from you. Let them. Maybe someone doesn't understand the new direction your life is taking. Let them. Maybe they don't agree with the boundaries you've put in place. Let them. You don't have to make everybody comfortable with your growth. Sometimes becoming healthier means becoming less available for the things that used to drain you. And some people won't like that. That's okay. You're not responsible for making everyone comfortable with the woman God is helping you become. Your responsibility is to keep your heart right before Him. So when you're tempted to check their page, don't. When you're tempted to send that long message explaining everything, pause. When you're tempted to prove yourself, remember who you are. And when you're tempted to go back simply because you're lonely, remember why God brought you forward. You don't have to return to something just because it's familiar. Familiar doesn't always mean healthy. And someone's absence doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. Sometimes God removes something from your life because He knows what you cannot see yet. Trust Him. You may not understand the ending. You may not understand why someone left. You may not understand why a relationship changed, but you can still trust the one who sees the entire picture. My dear sister, you don't have to fight for every relationship. You don't have to chase every person. You don't have to answer every accusation. And you don't have to explain yourself to everyone. There is freedom in knowing when to speak and when to be silent. There is wisdom in knowing when to hold on and when to release. So today, give yourself permission to stop carrying what God never asked you to carry. Let people have their opinions. Let them make their choices. Let them misunderstand you if they choose to. And let God handle the things you cannot control. You have a life to live, a purpose to pursue, a relationship with God to deepen, and a future that doesn't need to be held hostage by your past. You don't need their permission to move forward. You don't need their approval to become who God called you to be. And you don't need their apology to begin healing. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is simply, I release this to God. And then keep walking. Not bitter. Not angry. Not trying to get even. Just free. So, my dear sister, let them and let God.